Coffee. Check. I think everyone can agree monopolies, as in one company having no competition within an industry, is bad. Now, generally this is blocked by regulation when necessary, but there is still one monopoly, essentially, that continues to be allowed to destroy our lives. Internet service providers, or ISPs. I feel like almost everyone I know hates their home internet provider. It's either too expensive or not fast enough, or it goes down constantly, or they can't get any customer support, etc. But no one switches. And it's not because they don't want to. Clearly, it's because they can't. According to FCC data, about 68% of the US census blocks have 0 to 1 provider offering service with at least 25 megabits down, the speed defined in the FCC's definition for internet to be considered broadband. Beyond that, Comcast and Charter, two massive ISPs, maintain an absolute monopoly, as in one of them is the only choice for at least 47 million people in the US, according to a study by the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, and in total, at least 83.3 million Americans can only access broadband speeds through a single provider. Here in NYC, it's actually the point where real estate sites let you search to find Verizon's Fios service, which is far better than the crap Spectrum and Comcast services that most houses here have. The reason it's this way comes down to the fact that wired internet going into a home is expensive. In the average suburb exurb, building fiber into a home can come somewhere between $1,500 and $3,500 for the ISP, and in rural areas, as much as $5,000. So at $60 a month, an average for broadband, even if an ISP managed to get 100% of the customers in the area, break-even would take 2.5 years in the best case, or 6 years in the worst. And that doesn't even include maintenance, support, marketing to tell the customers that you even exist, etc. And if you have 2 providers in that area, that break-even point then doubles to as much as 12 years. But every building already has one service provider, so you'd have to pay to build the fiber all the way to the building, plus convince the building owners that it's worth the construction to them. And this is New York City, so they probably couldn't care less whether their tenants have faster or slower internet, among many other things that they don't care about. Now, there have even been government incentives that have given money to these ISPs to help them build out faster internet for people, but all of it has essentially failed. And the only time these companies have tried to give better service to their customers ever is when that age-old cure to a stagnant conglomerate comes around: competition. If there isn't any, they're fine to just not change. Now, there is a glimmer of hope though: 5G. And for the most part, specifically fixed wireless access 5G, or FWA 5G. Now this is a 5G fixed wireless access point that actually uses MediaTek's T750 chipset, comprised of a quad-core ARM CPU and their MT6890 5G integrated SoC, capable of delivering up to 4.7 gigabits per second for product makers out of the box. And it can use the existing 5G infrastructure that's covering a ton of the US already at this point. No need to lay down new cables to the house. Now essentially, all of the carriers that you're used to seeing for cell phone service will just start to sell these access points that can grab the wireless signal from nearby 5G cell towers and broadcast a Wi-Fi network like you usually have with your broadband ISP. No need to do anything other than buy the router, plug it into the wall, and sign up using an app. So, just like that, in most areas of the United States, those incumbent ISPs all of a sudden have some competition. And that competition in the form of these cell phone carriers are also competing with each other. So there's even more competition. And indeed, companies like T-Mobile and Verizon now offer at-home 5G internet in some markets for around $50 a month, and when bundled with specific phone plans, if you have one with them, as low as $25 a month in some cases. And we even have average claimed download speeds of over 100 megabits per second, as well as claimed top speeds close to 1 gigabit per second for downloads. And there are no data caps, which has always kind of been a big concern for me when it comes to the wireless home internet industry. Why is this happening now? Why didn't this happen as much with 4G? Well, without getting too deep into it here, I have a bunch of explainer videos on 5G that I will link below if you're curious about that. But suffice it to say, 5G has the capacity now to handle the data traffic coming in and out of homes constantly, as well as finally the speeds to challenge broadband. Most of this is going to come from sub-6 5G, or 5G in the frequencies below 6 gigahertz, but millimeter wave, which provides even faster speeds, it's where that claimed 1 gigabit per second top download speed comes from, but is a bit trickier in terms of coverage. That, though, works super well for these at-home 5G solutions because the cell tower can beam the signal into a house or apartment that doesn't move like a phone everyone does, you know, when you're walking around. And MediaTek's Dimensity 1050 chipset that they launched not too long ago as their first chipset with millimeter wave support, it's also helping to bring the cost down for devices to support millimeter wave and sub-6 5G together, which is just good news for everybody. And even people on the go, or the crazy number of people who have now transitioned to working remotely, and maybe they sold their house and now they're van lifers. They can also use 5G internet in the form of hotspots, like this one, using that same MT6890 5G SoC that the fixed wireless access point has. MediaTek designed this chipset actually to be able to work in the smallest of devices if needed, as well as have super low power consumption. It also supports some of the fastest speeds on LTE with 5cc carrier aggregation for when you don't have 5G. And all of that, of course, is super important for mobile hotspots. And that means much faster options now to help fuel all of those people that took work from home to mean work from wherever they please. Now, of course, we have a way to go. But even in Q2 of 2022, Verizon and T-Mobile both added 815,000 at-home 5G subscribers, and that's compared to just 120,000 in Q2 of 2021. So it's definitely picking up momentum. Hopefully, as 5G speeds increase, more and more markets get added, routers and hotspots get less and less expensive, in part thanks to MediaTek, and more people get a choice in their home internet thanks to 5G and fixed wireless access. It'll mean more competition and faster speeds and lower prices for everyone across the board. There you guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments below what you think of 5G. Does anyone have fixed access at home? Are you using 5G over broadband? Would like to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. Always appreciate it. Also, thanks again to MediaTek for partnering with me to help make this video. I'll leave a link below to some more info on what they're doing in this space. So if you're curious, please check them out below. But regardless, thanks for watching.